What we do here is go back.
I know it's been a while since my last videos. Life caught up to me, what can I say? This won't be the video on David Chalmers or Wittgenstein that I teased in my last video. Stay tuned though, since I will likely have that out by week's end. Today I'm not defending one of my own arguments, but rather going on the attack. Since this is much easier to do than making up your own argument, I'll try my best not to strawman my way out of it. The argument I hear rather frequently comes from vegans, who are themselves responding to the argument that animals are not intelligent enough to be allotted rights. In fact, you can usually hold your breath for the amount of time it takes one of these soundbites to pop up in a debate on ethical veganism. The vegan will ask which trait humans possess, which if animals had it would grant them rights the same as humans, and their interlocutor will respond that the trait is some threshold level of intelligence. Instead of pushing back at whether the line is to be drawn and perhaps trying to lower the bar to include more animals, the vegan will respond with a rhetorical question like, if intelligence is the magic trait, then is it okay to kill the mentally retarded? From this, the listener is to conclude that since we would never consider killing the mentally retarded to be moral or okay, then similarly, it's not okay to kill animals below this magic threshold. Similar arguments can be mocked up for consciousness or nearly any other trait a person would commonly point to in such a discussion. There are some other traits that would provide nicely for further philosophical discussion, but I will leave this for another video. An underlying assumption is that as human intelligence declines, it approaches something akin to animals, and is therefore comparable with animal intelligence. The vegan's opponent could quickly point out that this assumption is both unstated and unfounded by the argument thus far. Let's face it, probably this has not been brought up. Even if this were true for some animals, it certainly isn't true for all animals. Besides the basic demands of life, the comparable behavior between earthworms and humans is nowhere close enough to reasonably make analogies. Even that assumes that behavior alone is the kind of thing will allow to ground such arguments about intelligence. It's not that we should think that there is nothing that it's like to be a bat, but rather that what it's like to be a bat may be so alien to human experience that drawing analogies between the two is unreasonable. For more on this, see the discussion on Thomas Nagel in the Stanford Encyclopedia's entry on animal consciousness. However, let's grant this underlying assumption, taking points off the vegan score, but continuing on for the sake of argument. We can respond to the vegan that there is more to care about than just intelligence, but that animals don't even meet that standard. When the vegan asks what further traits may act in combination or single-handedly to grant rights to humans, we can argue that being human is the relevant trait. We care about humans in a way we have to in order to thrive as a species. Preying on weak humans rather than respecting their right to live would be chaotic for society. The vegan can then counter that you are now talking sociology and psychology, that you have changed the subject, and they would be right. We can come back with the fact that morality isn't all that we care about. We can imagine a big red button that would cause the death of everyone simultaneously and instantly. There would be no moral agents who might be harmed by the pushing of the button, since all moral agents are now gone. Therefore, even if it were wrong to push the button before it was pushed, once the button was pushed, it having been pushed is neither right nor wrong. Morality, after all, requires multiple parties to have meaning, so long as you don't pull the God card, of course. I bring up this thought experiment of a big red button that could end all humanity to illustrate that we care about survival regardless of whether morality exists or not. Interestingly, I know of at least one vegan who says they don't care whether a given animal species goes extinct, particularly in regards to species which would go extinct if humans no longer kept them as livestock. To such a person, you would have a glowing opportunity to press them on why they care about humans going extinct, but not animal livestock. If they respond that any amount of human exploitation of animals makes it so that extinction is a preferable endpoint, you can respond that it's possible that humans will always exploit each other to some extent, so they should be just as nonchalant about the death of all humans. If, however, they don't care if all humans go extinct, you are talking to a psychopath and should cease your moral conversation and slowly back away, being careful to keep an eye on them. There's yet another retort you might hurl at the vegan if you are making no headway along these lines. You could respond that mentally retarded humans have the capacity to be restored beyond the intelligence threshold. This may very soon be a reality for those suffering Down syndrome, as this disorder has already been treated and cured in vitro. To wrap up, when a vegan asks what trait separates humans and animals, you can respond that intelligence is the answer generally, and that when it comes to the narrow case of the mentally retarded, we respect autonomy for pro-social reasons. I hate this kind of argument from vegans because it's meant to be visceral rather than reasoned. You're not meant to think about all the premises and evaluate them and dissect them. You're supposed to quickly grant the vegan conclusion in order to fit your previously held intuitions and appear intellectually honest. Thanks for listening. A full transcript will be linked below, as well as the Stanford page I referenced.